Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is Friday, the 15th of November 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting over the course of the show. We'll begin with terrorism that we know has been emanating in Pakistan, has started in Pakistan, but what we have tried to highlight many different aspects of it. Today, the aspect that we are going to highlight is the Indian backing of this very terrorism, whether it be in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or in Balochistan. There are concrete proofs that are available that Indian backing is there to all these terrorist groups, which in whichever form you can call it, in kinetic or non-kinetic form, in the form of funding or in other forms, it is there. We've also seen that in the different statements that have been made by the Indian leadership, in which they have openly talked about Balochistan as well in the past. This is going to be our first segment, Indian terrorism in Pakistan. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns climate change and of course COP29. The developments that have been made as far as COP is concerned, the developments that have been made as far as the situation of smog in Pakistan is concerned will be highlighted in this very segment. These will be the two main stories that we will be talking about in the course of today's show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the of course the situation as far as terrorism in Pakistan is concerned and the Indian backing of such terrorist elements and such terrorist outfits. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we've been joined by Dr. Syed Aleem Gillani. He's an international affairs expert and joins us after a bit of a hiatus. Aleem, thank you very much to have joined us. And then we have been joined by Lieutenant General Raza Khan Sahab, who's a defense analyst, and he joins us online. Let's begin with you, Aleem. Aleem, when you look at terrorism in Pakistan, and we've discussed terrorism many a times in the past as well, and we've always discussed that these terrorist outfits cannot work on their own. They are funded, they are backed by certain other regional countries or regional powers, and of course India is one of those powers. Let's talk about it openly. The Foreign Office also expresses grave concern over India's alleged support for these terror groups that are operating in the region. Our spokesperson Mumtaz Zahra Baloch reiterated Pakistan's position that these groups receive backing from India. Now this is also, we have talked about this again, but again this is being reiterated by Foreign Office to make the world understand what India's role has been. What is now the global responsibility in the wake of all these incidents that have been happening in Pakistan?
Omar, in the current scenario, the world is evolving, and presently China, Iran and definitely Russia, they have their key role to play in the scenario where they are supposed to mitigate this kind of a terrorist activities by, for instance, if I talk about China, they have their economic muscle. They can, they can put it in a way that it become easier to dismantle all kind of terrorist activities that are going on. Similarly, if you talk about the Russian side, they have a very good anti-terrorist, background in the military sharing and the reconnaissance and the intelligence part. For me, I believe that for the first time, the Indians are becoming that much of a they are that much open in their response that they're not even concerned about what their moral legitimacy is all about. As you know that in the international relations currently, the elements of power are no more limited to the military and economy. True. It is also your moral legitimacy. And you see in the case of Canadian assassinations, you see in the case of what they did with even in the Lahore and then the UK, back to back, one after another. It means that their actions are going unchecked and they believe that they can move on with this scenario without caring for the international repute. That is a very alarming state. Remember, in our, as I am from the international relations realm, it is considered a real factor that states usually operate on realism, assumption that everything is the right way when it comes to national interest. But to my consternation, it is a sign of great disparity that they are moving towards realpolitik, which is the worst part of exaggerated form of realism, in which you are least concerned what are the morals, what are the values, what are the the segregation of right and wrong. The only thing you want is to create your version of reality, and they are not only limited to this, they are funding the other organs to create this discourse across the globe that they are not the aggressor, they are the defenders. So for me, the global powers have a key role to play right now,
All
because
right.
so this is what it is.
All right. Lieutenant General Raza Mohammad Khan Sahab joins us online. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us. I'll reiterate something that we've discussed in the past many times as well, but I'd like to highlight again. You know, Kulbhushan Yadav, one of the elements that was caught in Balochistan way back, a couple of years back. This was again, you know, reiterated by our Foreign Office spokesperson Mumtaz Zahra Baloch, in which she talked about Yadav involved in espionage and terrorist activities in Balochistan, and that has been said by him himself in different statements that he has given since then. She emphasized that such activities are an established fact and continue to threaten regional security. If they do continue to threaten regional security, what is the role of regional players, important regional players that are present here, apart from India?
Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are perfectly audible, sir.
All right, so we are essentially talking of two components of the Indian counter-terrorism utilization or use as a state policy with impunity, and also the use or misuse uh, of information technology by India for the achievements of its aim. I think both these aspects have now thoroughly been exposed, and I think the international community is aware of it. And this has been evident in at least 7 countries of the world. And we know that it was in the US, in Canada, Australia, Qatar, UK, Pakistan, and China are the main targets, and maybe there are other targets. Now, first of all, I think this has dented the international image of not India itself, but also these countries, because of the very weak response by them. At least the response that we have seen so far, there has only been, I think, only legal response that we have seen, and beyond that, I think we do not know anything. And hopefully they would actually revise their policies, because unless they do that, I think it will encourage not only India but others to continue assassinating the citizens of these countries with impunity. And I think that will not be acceptable to any government of the world. So what they need to do is, to at least, send some strong sort of a demarches to them in the political and diplomatic field. And as we have learned from the media, that there were 3 people essentially involved in all this international terrorism by India. It was their Interior Minister Amit Shah, their the raw chief, and also Mr. Ajit Doval. So at least these 3 people, they need to be made accountable. They could actually be declared as people who are, disallowed US visas. And I think, if this thing does not end, then eventually I think these governments need to at least threaten India for asking to extradite these criminals to the respective countries for trial on terrorism. So this is the point number one. The second aspect is what Pakistan needs to do. Uh, I think our national action plan is 10 years old, and it needs to be thoroughly revised. It was, planned for the environment of that time, and the environment has now drastically changed. And our response needs to include, I think, not only defensive components like the national action plan, provincial action plans, and in addition to that, the police counterterrorism department, fencing, etc. It needs to include additional measures, and they need to be both in the legal domain as well as in the domain of the economy. I think we need to trace the funding of all terrorists that they are getting from abroad. We need to trace out their logistic support abroad. We need to trace out their training which is conducted abroad, whether it is in Afghanistan or in India. And we need to deny these supports to the terrorists who are operating inside Pakistan by all available means. And that means whether it is political, diplomatic, military, intelligence based operations, covert operations, whatever it may take. I think all these components must be used to deny them these supports. Secondly, I think the element of deterrence needs to be there, it needs to come up. And when I talk of deterrence, it is, instant response as we did to the Indian aggression and terrorism in Balakot and the Iranian aggression in Balochistan. And if needed, it could be transfrontier. And I think the countries involved must be very clearly told that it is Pakistan's right and it has been given to it by the United Nations Security Council resolutions and the patience of not only the people but the government of Pakistan has also been tested time and again. And there is a limit.
I agree with you, Lieutenant General Sahab. We also have Aleem in the studios. Aleem, earlier this month, the Federal Minister for Communications, Mr. Aleem Khan, talked about India's warfare tactics and hybrid warfare tactics. He talked about a recent report that has come out with the name of hybrid war against Pakistan. We all know about the hybrid war that India has been waging against Pakistan, not since now, but since, a couple of years. We have highlighted the Disinfo Lab report. We've highlighted so many other reports that have come out. Pakistan has made dossiers and has sent it to all the important global players as well. Do you feel reports such as this latest one that has come, hybrid war against Pakistan, have any impact as far as exposing India's real face is concerned? Because Pakistan has already done that through different documents, but with every new report, with every new document, does that continue to strengthen Pakistan's or vindicate Pakistan's stance as far as India's tactics is concerned?
Incontrovertibly, this is the truth of the time that Pakistan repeatedly conveyed its stance and repeatedly highlighted the flaws in the or the kind of duplicity in the Indian side, whether it is a policy side, whether they are defending their so-called democratic values there. Everything has been exposed for the first time to the international community. But the problem is, once they create, recently it's been a trend that disinformation, or when you create, distort the sources of the information, it becomes more dangerous than even the nukes. What you need to understand here is, after the procurement of nuclear weapons at Pakistani side, Indians were, as what the general officer was also talking about, they are not able to, cross your borders. They find alternate ways to, perform their activities. And now their even defense minister is on record that he said that we will go to any limit to eliminate the targets they deemed appropriate as terrorist. As you know, there is no universal definition of terrorism. Every country put it in a different context. India, whosoever is a terrorist for India, they will go to the next level to eliminate it. Just see the gravity of this statement. If they consider any law enforcement agency senior officer as a terrorist, they will go for it. So I am amazed that how come the international community is completely reticent on this, open and shut case, where they are not only involved in Pakistan, talk about Canada, talk about UK, talk about Pakistan in symmetry, Australia also. Even the foreign independent think tanks are categorically criticizing the concept of Indian democracy, what sort of democracy they are, if they are not allowing media to openly cover whatever is going in the Indian administration, and RAW directly controlled by Prime Minister's office, taking orders from there, and their covert action divisions are covertly working there. So this is what the situation is right now.
All right, Lieutenant General Saab, India has continued to work on damaging Pakistan's repute on the international arena. It has done it time and again. We have got multiple proofs as far as that is concerned, and also through hybrid warfare means such as through the EU Disinfo Lab. Not only damaging Pakistan's image, but also damaging Pakistan's stance on important issues such as that of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Have these revelations through reports that come out and highlight Indian tactics like the one that I just talked about that was recently released, highlight the disinformation network used by India against Pakistan? And if so, what is the role that needs to be played by international judicial organizations to curb this menace?
Okay, I will answer this question. This is a very relevant and important question. But let me complete what I was saying about the revision of the National Action Plan. I think it has to be a joint counter-terrorism strategy of Pakistan with China and all the regional countries who have economic stakes in Pakistan. And I am now referring to, other than China, to Saudi Arabia, to the UAE, Iran, and other countries, so that, there is effective intelligence sharing and joint actions could be taken against terrorists. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China has very recently stated that the Chinese government is, it is dedicated to helping Pakistan and not only in terrorism but in every other field. But we know that in the past, they have communicated their concern to us in no uncertain terms. Therefore, I think the importance of joint action by Pakistan, China, and its friends. And when it comes to the security of Chinese national, there are again two components. The first component is that of those Chinese who are working with the CPEC, which has the security divisions of the government of Pakistan, of the armed forces, and we do not see, much problem there. Most of the Chinese friends who are targeted are either working outside the domain of the CPEC, who are being guarded and protected by private security personnel or agencies who, in my view, are neither trained nor equipped nor funded for this purpose. And I think I was very glad to read that at least the Sindh government has now started an audit of all these private securities agencies to see all those aspects, that I mentioned, and they are telling them at least to hire, ex-servicemen who are already trained in these duties from the SSG or other, infantry units. These things need to be done, and unless they are done, I think these terrorist activities will continue. I believe they have Chinese personnel have also been given, hotline numbers to contact the LEAs directly in case of any threat to them. Coming back to your first question, I think let's first talk of the defensive measures against the Indian disinformation campaign and the terrorism campaign. I think the Ministry of Interior, Information and Technologies are now taking, the misuse of VPNs very, very seriously, because that is being misused, through the use of not only the traditional social media, but also the dark and the deep webs by terrorists of all hues, and it is through these dark and deep webs that India is maligning Pakistan and China, Kashmiris, and it is trying to hurt our reputations all over the world. And it is doing this not only, through its own agents, but the agents stationed inside Pakistan and other countries. So we need to have, domain experts in the information sector so that all these attacks and disinformation can be dispelled. And we need to have a separate counter strategy for that, which is not an easy thing to do. And it will need actually a lot of time, effort, and funding. But I think the government of Pakistan has now taken the right decisions, and we hope that it is taken to the right conclusions. Finally, I think both the government of Afghanistan and India needs to be given very strong sort of messages that unless they stop the terrorism activities in Pakistan, then there will be consequences, and those consequences could be very, very serious, and both these countries will be responsible for that.
Thank you very much, Raza Muhammad Khan Sahab, to have joined us to have discussed terrorism in Pakistan, of course, with the backing of important regional players such as India. Thank you, sir, to have joined us. Aleem, I'd like to understand the recent reports, you must have read them, Washington Post, Guardian, all the top international newspapers have highlighted Indian machinations, the way they have involved themselves in what a lot of people call transnational extrajudicial killings as well. Pakistan, killings for hire have happened in Pakistan with the backing of India as well, and that has been proven through different mechanisms. What, in your point of view, could be done? Because I understand India's geopolitical or geostrategic importance to do with certain important global players will continue to back India despite whatever it does or despite whatever it gets involved in. What should countries like Pakistan do in this case in order to not only defend itself from such harmful tactics of our neighbors, but to also continue to highlight vigorously of what India has been doing on the international front?
Unfortunately, even in academia, what I observe is that all the platforms are bombarded with whatever the Indians are presenting. They create illusion and then they propagate it in a manner that it becomes like a reality to the international community. You rightly cited out the recent leaks and the recent reports that covered how they are actually trying to control the cognitive behavior of international community leaders. International community is not familiar what is happening in Lahore, and right now a common person is not knowing. It is them that they are educating them in a manner and telling them that basically whatever is happening in the world, even especially the odd thing, Pakistan is responsible for it. Coming to your second part of the question, what we should do. The problem is that we have to bring a counter narrative to whatever they are propagating currently in our social media.
But we've got that counter narrative, but what more needs to be done from Pakistani side for India to kind of take a back step? I know it might not take that back step, but it needs to, and we need to push it towards that. What could be done?
The biggest available option for, in my understanding, is right now that Chinese are with you. For instance, recently the Indians has sent a notice to revisit Indus Water Treaty.
Yes.
Now India is upper riparian countries. Rivers are flowing from India towards Pakistan. But again, if you compare India and China, China is upper riparian country to India. If they create any mess with us in that scenario in Brahmaputra, definitely they will be reciprocated by the Chinese side. Right now we have, in the current scenario, we have only very few limited options available to counter India. Why? Economically they are much bigger. They have big chunk to offer, and even in the preceding part of our analysis when we were referring to it, you rightly pointed out how come they are conducting terrorist activities inside Pakistan, because a vacuum has been created.
Yes.
We are suffering from a structural kind of a violence because we are not able to create jobs, we are not able to do that part. That vacuum has been strategically exploited by the Indian side. And in academia we call it frustration aggression hypothesis. When the institutions are not able to deliver, what happens? People are frustrated. Whenever they are frustrated, it must be exploited by a third adversary like India. And it is not a new tactic in my understanding. 1971, what happened before attacking Pakistan? The Indian head of the state visited all countries across the globe and created this image that due to the heavy refugees, we are supposed to wage war against Pakistan. That was their narrative.
All right.
Now it is no more relevant in the current scenario. So that's why they have created such a discourse that even the international community has been trapped into it, and they believe that probably India is not on the aggressing side. But Alhamdulillah, for the first time I believe that they have been defeated on three fronts. One, internationally. The lawfare they were waging against Pakistan, they trapped themselves in it. Secondly, their state level democracy, the so-called fabrication has been exploited for the first time. And third, the individual trait of Narendra Modi has been exploited to the rest of the world, that how his chauvinistic approach backed by the Rashtriya Swam Civic Sangh is making Indian democratic country look like it has been a jail or a prison. So this is what it is.
All right, this is what it is, but I hope that the world realizes that it can back India in whichever way it wants, but it needs to also exert the right pressure on India so that it stops its extra national and transnational terrorism and this extrajudicial killings that have been going on in this region as well as across the globe. In US and Canada, we've seen the recent responses by Justin Trudeau, how he has reacted, and I think it is a step in the right direction, and I'm sure that other countries will follow as well in this regard. Thank you very much, Aleem, to have joined us, ladies and gentlemen. That was Dr. Syed Aleem Gillani, international affairs expert, talking to us about terrorism in Pakistan with the major backing from India. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns COP29. Now, we all know that different important topics are being discussed as far as this COP is concerned, whether it be climate change, but the most important thing now is climate finance or climate justice, and how to do the needful so that those countries that are in need of mitigation need to be helped in such a way that the money that is being given to them does not or is not considered as aid but more as grants. This is what a stance that Pakistan has always been giving as well. But the fact remains that a lot of countries are reticent in order to move in the right direction because the money is enormous. We've been joined by Dr. Khalid Waleed. He joins us from Baku. He's an energy expert. Thank you very much, Khalid, to have joined us. I'd like to understand, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the Pakistani side. But before that, now that you're in Baku, I'd like to also have your point of view on the latest developments that have happened as far as climate financing is concerned.
Well, thank you so much, Omar. This COP has been nominated as the COP of finance, climate finance. There has been one new instrument that is known as NCQG, that is new collective quantified goal for climate finance. It is being negotiated in this COP29. Obviously that you have already said in your introductory remarks that the climate finance is very important, essential component. Without finance and finance that is additional, without it, no climate action can be effectively managed. And then there is a climate injustice issue. Obviously, G77 countries and least developed countries and SIDS, the small island countries, they are negotiating. They are flexing their muscles in front of the global north that they should pay the global south in terms of loss and damage funds, in terms of climate financing. The main point here is that the climate financing should be additional. Climate finances should be non-debt creating instruments that can initiate climate action as well as the climate prosperity that these countries need, particularly countries like Pakistan, where we have twin sort of deficits or twin sort of crises. First is economic crisis, then there is a climate crisis, and these two crises, they are intertwined. Whenever there is a flood in Pakistan, Pakistan's GDP drops, and when the GDP drops, Pakistan became more vulnerable to climate. So this is what is going on in COP29 right now. One very welcoming sort of development has been made in COP29, that is the agreement on Article 6, that is carbon markets. If this is implemented, maybe the market-based instruments that can be fully operational, and maybe more and more private sector finance that can be brought into these countries.
Pakistan also, Khalid, has been talking a lot about these carbon markets and has been pushing for it as well. We saw that in the remarks that were made by our leadership in Baku as well. But Pakistan has also unveiled its national climate finance strategy on the sidelines of the summit, which outlines Pakistan's roadmap to access both international as well as domestic finance to address climate-related issues. How important is this strategy, and what are the basic outlines of this strategy?
It is very important. We need to understand in a way that now climate finance, the world of climate finance is getting more competitive. More and more countries are proposing their projects, are attracting finance. So the countries, those are vulnerable to climate change, they have to face two difficulties. First, they are vulnerable to climate change. Second, they have to be more competitive, and competitive in climate finance means that they are more transparent, they have more institutions that are governing these climate finance systems. So in that regard, the national climate finance strategy, that would be a building block for Pakistan, that will attract more climate financing, and it will have the frameworks and how the climate financing would be spent on climate vulnerable communities, what would be the mechanisms of transparency. So it is not just an instrument of attracting climate finance. It would be a holistic sort of thing in which many departments, including Ministry of Climate Change, Ministry of Finance, and other ministries, they would be integrating in such a way that they perform it as like a whole of sector sort of approach. So for that, attracting more climate finance, the climate national climate finance strategy, that would be very important for Pakistan. What we need to do is right now, although the ministry has launched it, we need to build upon it, improve it, link it with other developmental plans. Just like in last year's budget, this year's budget, the finance ministry has tagged Pakistan's public sector development program with climate either adaptation, mitigation, or resilience. So this tagging is very important. The climate national climate finance strategy, that will further enhance these initiatives that are integrating climate change ministry and finance ministry.
All right, Khalid, also outlining this very important strategy, the Secretary of the Ministry for Climate Change said that some of the basic elements of the framework around which the strategy is based include enhancing sectorial resilience, clarifying institutional roles, and bolstering access to finance from diverse sources. She says for their ongoing projects, from mangrove restoration to renewable energy development, reflect this commitment. Should the world, in your point of view, also reaffirm this shared commitment to multilateral climate action in a similar fashion?
Well, obviously, Pakistan is doing its part. Not only it is a fifth most vulnerable country to climate change, also it is making strive on developing these sort of frameworks. But again, this is a two-pronged approach. First is we need to attract and convince the world that if they support Pakistan and climate vulnerable countries, world would be a much safer place and there would be more chance to fight climate change. Second, Pakistan needs to make its house in order in a way that there are institutional mechanism. Madam Secretary is very right that we need to have institutional arrangements that are apolitical, that are long lasting, that are made according to the long term horizon, keeping the bigger picture of climate change. And lastly, we need to have multi-sectoral approach. Multi-sectoral approach means that climate change is not just about the climate ministry. It is about food security. It is about commerce now. It is about energy ministry. So we need to have this holistic, whole of a government, whole of a society approach, and communities are part of it. National climate finance strategy would not be as efficient as it should be if there is no community oriented element in it. We need to spend that climate finance in a transparent, accountable way so that the communities that are vulnerable to climate change are directly getting benefit out of it.
All right. Also, Khalid, does the launching of such a strategy reflect Pakistan's proactive approach as far as mobilizing climate finance is concerned, as also building resilience against climate-induced challenges?
Well, Pakistan's stance, you are right that we need a proactive approach. And this is the example of proactive approach that we should have done around 2 or 3 years ago. But this is the right step in right direction. If we want to build resilience of the society, if we want to attract more climate financing, we need to have these instruments. Particularly, this is the time in next year, 2025. The next NDCs are to be submitted, national determined contributions. So linking these instruments together, we can submit not only a very ambitious sort of NDCs, but also we can submit an implementable NDCs as well, because and linking it with the development priorities of Pakistan, because right now the development, economic development is now linked with climate agenda. So we need to reflect in our policies as well, and this would be a very welcome sort of initiative. Pakistan needs to be needs to be proactive in this. Till now, we are sort of I would say that reactionary in our approach to climate action. We need to have some preemptive sort of way planning, so that we know the disasters, we perceive them, we have persistent policies, so that we can not only cater them, but also make sure that in future the intensity of these disasters is reduced.
All right, Khalid, also I'd like to understand, Obina Khurshid Alam, who's also there in Baku, who also unveiled the strategy, talked about the Pakistani climate resilience vision for the year 2050. What are its modalities?
Obviously, again, I would repeat my words that climate change is a long-term phenomena. We need to have a long-term policy horizon for that, and it should be a political thing, which means that if a government deciding that this should be the Pakistan's climate strategy, the next upcoming government, they should adopt it and build upon it, not inventing a new wheel. So for that, we need to plan for a longer term, and longer term means that integrating climate agenda with the developmental priorities. In this regard, the Ministry of Planning would be very important. Ministry of Finance would be very important. Pakistan being now have been playing a very active role in V20. V20 is a group of 20 vulnerable countries. It has now expanded to around 70 countries, but still this forum is getting stronger, dominant in climate policy. We need to play an effective role. One of the very effective thing about V20 is that they develop climate prosperity plans. Climate prosperity plans means that climate agenda is not only to save from the adversities of climate change, it also pursue prosperity at micro level as well. So this is what Pakistan needs to do in policy arena. So the longer term horizon, keeping the development priorities plus climate priorities together, so that there is more political as well as people's buy-in in climate initiatives.
A lot of analysts talk about the slow pace of disbursement of funds for the climate vulnerable countries. What can be done in that regard? What kind of joint efforts can regional countries, all the climate vulnerable countries, the V20 for example, like you mentioned, could do to achieve not only regional climate resilience, but also the funds required to fight to be resilient?
This is a debate of climate injustice, global north and global south. Global north right now, they are also facing different economic difficulties in terms of economic slowdown, in terms of inflation, in terms of conflict, particularly in Russia, Ukraine. So they are reluctant to sort of finance and give finance to global south. In this time, what global south can do, they can increase the south-south cooperation in a way that there is more information exchange between southern countries, between technology transfer between these countries, and making their voice heard on giant forums, on global forums like COP28, making it like a unified voice, and make the climate finance thing work and loss and damage work. In that way, there would be a win-win situation for the global south. Third, there should be more community interaction between global south countries, so that they can learn from their experiences. For example, there are different climate adversities in Brazil as compared to Pakistan. So if communities from Brazil and Pakistan, they are interacting, they can learn from each other, and they can plan a plan for these adversities. So my take would be, if there is reluctance from global north, global south should join their hands and make a regional effort, share information, technology transfer, maybe reskilling their workers as well, and then we can have a global voice, unified voice at global forums like COP29.
You talk of a global voice, a unified voice, but the fact is also that there has been a letter that has been sent to the United Nations by former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, former United Nations Climate Chief Christiana Figueres, and former President of Ireland Mary Robinson, who say that the COP climate talks are no longer fit for purpose and need an urgent overhaul. What's your comment on that?
Well, there is always a need for improvement, but still, COP is a forum where people, where countries, communities, indigenous communities, group of people, they join together, even private sector join together and have a talk on climate change, how we can solve this crisis. But still, the improvements can be done. It can be make more inclusive. It can be make more open. It can be make more operational. Maybe the economic institutions, they can play a more significant role in it, in a way that they are providing non-debt creating climate financing instruments to the global south. In that way, this forum can be made more operationable, more feasible, and more beneficial for the global south and fighting the climate change. And second thing, there is more focus on mitigation efforts from global north, but the adaptation that is ignored. So maybe COP29 can put more focus, more stress on adaptation funding, so that global south is prepared for these climate adversities and communities are prepared for these climate adversities.
Khalid, the global temperatures are also rising. There was a limit of 1.5 degrees Celsius that has already been crossed. A lot of speculation within the world community, especially within the analysts, as to how important is it for important global players to take full advantage of the small window of opportunity that is left before it is way too late for them to act. Will the important players take advantage? Because you must be hearing all of that happening around COP, the discussions around climate change and the increase in temperature, especially how the world is getting hotter and hotter. What is the basic discussion that is going on as far as the global powers taking advantage of this small, window of opportunity that is still present before it's too late?
Well, there are two negotiation streams. First is global south is trying to convince global north that they should they should compensate global south in terms of climate finance, in terms of NCQG, in terms of loss and damage funds. The second stream that is being pushed from global north is more on enabling environment, that global south would be provided with an enabling environment in terms of capacity building, in terms of market-based instruments such as carbon markets, so that they do not have to pay directly to the global south countries. So this is where I would say the bottlenecks are created. So we need to find some of the win-win situation in which the planet wins, but still we need to focus again on these two streams equally. They are equally important. First, the compensation in terms of finances, climate finance. Second, the enabling environment in terms of guarantees, in terms of renewable energy investments, in terms of technology transfer, in terms of capacity building, in terms of building resilience, adaptation funding. So the both perspective, they carry weight, but we need to balance these out, and we want to make a consensus which is not only good for climate of this planet, but also have an economic meaning to it. If there is an economic meaning, or it is economically feasible, then there would be a political buy-in from global north as well as global south. So we need to look for the economic benefits as well, link it with economics, and then the climate economics or climate finance would be truly operationalized, and it will be truly operationalized when it would benefit the communities that are being affected by the climate change.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid, Waleed, energy expert, joining us from Baku. And of course, my regards to the entire team that is working so diligently in order to not only highlight Pakistani perspective on climate change, but also work for the developed or the developing world in order to bring about a change in the current situation as far as climate change or this climate financing or climate crisis is concerned. Thank you very much, Khalid, to have joined us. That was Dr. Khalid Waleed, energy expert, joining us all the way from Baku. This brings us to the end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah on Monday with news story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned for more right here on PTV World. Allah Hafiz.